Welcome to Winning Begins at Home. We're talking failure versus fragile today in our mental health conversation we've been having this week. I'm not a mental health expert by any stretch of the imagination, not a psychologist or a psychiatrist or any of that kind of stuff. But this conversation is very interesting when you start paying attention to all the people that are struggling right now. I think we all have these areas in our lives where things can be challenging. And today I want us to talk about the idea of being fragile versus the idea of failure. I think there are two different things. And I think sometimes we end up allowing our failures to make us fragile. Let's take them separately here. So I want to start today with the idea of failure. We're all going to fail. We're all going to mess up. And I'll give you an example. This is a probably silly example, but I was playing golf the other day and I ended up making a double bogey on a hole. Now, if you're not a golfer, you don't need to think about golf. Par is the course kind of gives you a par for the hole. Let's say the scorecard says that you should get the ball from the tee into the hole in 4 shots. A double bogey would be, a bogey would be 1 over the par. A double bogey would be 2 over the par. And so if it takes you 6 to get it in when you're supposed to get in 4, that'd be failure to the standard of the golf course. And so this happened to me on the hole. Now, I think this is a simple way to think about this. Failure is you didn't meet the expectations. Fragile would be if you allowed your failure to affect the next hole. And that's sort of the way I thought about it. Let's don't think about what happened as we go forward. Now, let's unpack that for just a second. There are things that happen in our lives where we fail and we make mistakes. And man, how many things in my life would I love to go back and have a do-over? I didn't do what I was supposed to do, or there have been times I did things I wish I hadn't done that. And you don't get do-overs. We talked about it just last week. You don't get do-overs, but you do get start-overs. And I love that. But if we're not careful, we'll allow our failures to affect our fragility or the idea of being fragile here. And I know so many people who are just emotionally paralyzed by mistakes that they've made. And I know some of our mistakes are bigger than others. I certainly have some that I've made that were bigger than others. But the truth is we do have consequences to those mistakes, but there's things that we can learn from those as well. And I've heard people say for years, it's better to learn from the mistakes of other people. That probably is good advice. But the truth is you've made mistakes yourself. And so you get to learn from those. And so as you think about those failures, again, you didn't meet the expectations. You didn't do what you were supposed to do, or maybe you did something that somebody didn't want you to do, or you weren't supposed to do. It just wasn't, maybe it wasn't ethical or moral or pure or however you would define your standards or wherever you would get your definition. I've shared with y'all before, I love to read the Bible, and the Bible talks about this. It uses the word sin. And I think sometimes we don't like that language, especially if we're not, we're not people of faith. We don't think about that. And yet sin, just basically think about it. It means I didn't do what I was supposed to do, or I did what I wasn't supposed to do. And in the Bible, it's actually an old archery term. It means to miss the mark. It's like a target being shot at and you didn't hit the target. I think so many times in our lives, we have these places where we didn't hit the target. And because of that, then it just, we hold on to it for years, weeks, months, whatever. It just, and some of us are carrying stuff, for a lifetime, basically mistakes that you made. And so I want to just remind you today that you need to be, we'll use the old term anti-fragile. I've heard this term before. I think there's a book called Anti-Fragile. A guy was telling me about it. He said, basically the book, I haven't read the book, but he said the concept is that I need to be strong enough for myself. If you're a leader, you need to be strong enough for yourself and the people around you. There's going to be times that your kids, your spouse, the people that you live with, the people outside, maybe even the people at work. Again, this is kind of an outside of work show here, but there are going to be people around your life. If you're a leader, they're going to need to borrow some of your strength. And so I think we need to do some things to take care of ourselves. In this mental health conversation this week, one of the things that we can do is make sure that we are not allowing our failures to make us fragile. There's a difference. And so again, today, I just wanted to encourage you, if you're holding on to something from your past, you're being encumbered by that, you're entangled in that, let that go, move on, no do-overs. You still got consequences, but you do get a start over. And I encourage you to take a step today toward something better. I think if you'll do that, you'll definitely bless the people around you. You're going to have more joy yourself, and your life's going to be a little bit better. All right, failure versus fragile. They're two different things. You're going to fail, but you don't have to be fragile. Love you guys. We'll see you tomorrow on Winning Begins at Home.